Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is a down and dirty Z50R. Today, we're going to tackle the subframe. This is the base for one of these little Z50 bikes. This one is a Chinese clone. There is a stamped VIN number on it, and I could probably find out the manufacturer. I think there was a couple of them, but it's not really going to matter. This is what I have. This is what we're working with. The only damage to this thing is this bent piton here, and this is for the brake lever, the foot actuated brake lever. It was working when I took it apart, so you kind of got to make a decision. Do we heat this up and bang on it and risk bending this section, which is extremely important, or we just let it fly? It is very solid by design. There's another one of these, well, sort of used up here. I'll show you that next. But this cradle section here is for the engine, and the main bolt on the back side of the case goes through here. So we don't want to ming this up. Same goes for these tabs here. These are hangers. The welds are a-okay. There's a little bit of rust there. You can see, I think it just wasn't the best cut from the factory, and they just kind of hit it, and then with the paint chipped off, and it got a little rust still on there. The imperfection came through, so we're going to clean things like that up while it's just surface rust, and we'll hit it with some magic solution. Back here is another important section. The seat attaches on top of this section of the frame, so your body weight goes down through this tube and back to the main arc. There's a little bit of surface action going on in there, so I'll get in the best I can, clean it up. I'll spray some of the juice in there and let it do its thing. This is where the rear shocks mount and then return down to the swing arm. So a lot of the force is absorbed right here by the suspension. Originally, I was going to try to brace this across here, but honestly, this is pretty well made, so we're going to skip that and just try to clean it up. I don't think where I'm going to run an improved suspension, we are going to run into an issue where we're going to bend either one of these. Just like that one on the bottom, it carries straight through the frame. They have it welded on the outside and tacked on the inside. This is real steel. It's a lot thicker than some of the mini bike stuff that I've used in the past. So we're just going to prep this thing out, and if my considerable bulk damages it along the way, then we're going to repair it. That said, it's going to play a large role in how we prepare this thing. This is not a show bike. This is a go bike. All right? It is what it is, but we're going to make it the best we can. It's going to be made to be ridden, maintained, and enjoyed. It's not just going to sit somewhere in the corner of a garage or up in an attic. So let's get after it. First thing, I'm going to bust out the grinder and go for the heavy. All right, round one with Big Herc and an old flapper disc. I just went after all of the heavy and pretty much anything that I could access with the grinder. I didn't find any cracks. Everything seems to be surface rust. I don't even think there's any rot going on underneath any of these tabs. So, looking good. Up next, I'm going to hit it with the quick sandpapes. That didn't take much for me to get sick of. Hit it with the wire wheel, the wire brush, some rough stuff, and whatever this is. Basically, just hammering down the transitions is what it is. Break out some of that special sauce I was talking about. I've used this stuff in the past, and it's no joke. It'll get you. So, glove up, some goggles, mask, and you need a brush that you can throw out. You can actually reuse this stuff. So if you poured it into a cup, you can pour whatever's left in the cup back in here. But I think today we're just going to try to ease it out of the top. Depends, I think, is this a pour spout? Yeah, I just have it, barely opened on the end, so I'll put a little dabble on the brush and then do what I gotta do. Here, it's just easier if I show you. A little bit on the old brush key. Oh yeah. And then I'm just going to work it down in all of my problem areas. Anywhere that rust is, any little corrosion. I'm not worried about the table. It could actually, use a little bit of this action. So it goes on very thin, it doesn't take much. So once your brush is wet, you can basically work it until it's dried out. You see the little bubbles and stuff. That's, you know, doing its thing. And I just gave her the twice over, and now I'm referring back to the directions. I believe you're supposed to keep the juices flowing for a little bit, kind of like a rotisserie. Remove loose or flaking rust, paint scale, yada yada. Surface should be treated free of grease. Cleaner degreaser is highly recommended. We did that after I broke this thing down last time, so check. Apply with brush, roller, spray, or dip. So do whatever you got to do to keep it on there. Keep surfaces wet with metal prep for a minimum of 30 minutes. If bubbles appear, smooth them out with a sponge, cloth, or brush. So yeah, just like I'm doing. Looks like I'm going to do laps for about 30 minutes around it with the brush and see what happens. I clean the bottle off real good. Make sure it's sealed. Throw my gloves out. Everything is neutralized. I rinsed it off with straight up water, and then I just have a little dish detergent and, you know, a bucket and rag. Cleaned it off real good. I'm gonna let it dry just a minute. I'm gonna hit it with some degreaser, and then we might see if we gotta, well, no, we're gonna knock these bearing traces out, and then lacquer thinner. Standing in my puddle, it just takes a couple whacks with a tool of persuasion and a power source. I knocked that bottom race right out of there. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing. Lovely. Now that we own these, I'm going to bust it down with the super clean. I'm just running it on spray mode, giving everything a mist, and then I'm going to let it simmer. This is just going to remove any grime and film that might be there. Once it's just about dry, I'm going to grab a rag and wipe vigorously. And then I'll be back to the rinse, soap and water, and probably fire up the compressor and spray everything down, get it as dry as I possibly can. Dry it off, lacquer it down. This thing is ready for paint. Now, there is 100% going to be ridges and nasty transitions and all of that stuff, but it's all going to be one color. If you wanted to take this all the way, you could try to paint strip this and pressure wash it. It's going to take hours and hours and hours. You take it somewhere and pay them to sandblast it. You know, a little media flying around does a whole lot of work in a short amount of time. That costs extra money, takes more time. We're running out of both, so we're just gonna be proud of what we got and build something crazy with it. So now we gotta pick a color. Here's a close-up real quick of the problem areas. They are a whole lot cleaner. I mean, there's a little back there, but it's saturated and it was applied, so even down in there, it is just, it's night and day. Let's see if I can get you some kind of light there. You know, it's still got a little something, but hey, we'll be sure to get in there tight with whatever primer or paint we choose. That's what we're waiting on. Letting these warm up a bit. I'm narrowing this down by process of elimination. If I don't have enough for the entire project, ooh, that'd be close, then we're not going to use it. That'd be wild. Especially with the other colors I have. Man, I only have a little bit of black. About a half can. We gotta clear out the wazoo. Just enough flat white primer, so that's a keeper. These ones are, well, they claim heat resistant, gas and oil resistant. This one is like that one. I assume it's the good stuff. I use this on my Colemans. It's a nice red, but I don't want too much red. My seat's going to be black and red. The nice thing about these is, well, not particularly that one, but the black is when you get the scumbag overspray where you go back to do a touch-up. So it would behoove us to have enough to touch it up in the future. This stuff, that's gonna make a gummy mess. I'm not worried about that. So I think this is the winner. Zero hesitation with this. I just Eiffel Towered it and then set it up with the shish kebab. Good to go. Can't say I know what happened there, but apparently we're gonna have this nasty drip effect on both sides. Maybe the second coat will get it. It's pretty boss. Besides those two drips and a little bit of the nar up here, I think we're good to go. We got the high output tip working in our favor. It's going to start to snow soon, and we still got to get a little something up there in the blowhole. See that? Easy access. Everything but the threads. Maybe a little bit of the threads. See? I wasn't joking. There's the sun that we just had. Big clearing over there. And now there's nothing but clouds, wind, and this snow that looks like it belongs in a globe. What do you think of that, buddy? Of course you do. Safely back on the workbench. I have our little frame set up to cure. This thing is going to look the absolute balls. I better get out of here before the fumes take me out, though. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching. And I'll catch you on the next one.
I want you to stay.